Yeah. Talking with Blake Alderman, Gators Online, we talked to you about the decommitments that were in this class, but that's not a unique problem to Florida. So let's talk a little bit about some guys that maybe are committed elsewhere that we can maybe put on flip watch, guys, that Florida is still really going after hot and heavy. Darien Williams, an FSU commitment, is somebody that I think the Gators would love to flip come signing day.
Yes, they like him a lot, and he's been committed to FSU for like a year and some change now. And he's made 2 visits to Florida so far this year. One of them was a shadow day where he got to like follow around Waltez Clark, his former teammate at Plant.
Yep.
Billy Gonzalez has done a really good job recruiting him, and he's kind of like Florida has done a good job consistently of getting those kind of shifty slot kind of gadget type player guys in past cycles. And I feel like Williams is sort of that guy, even though you can use him in different ways. But it's a guy that can play DB, he can play wide receiver, so he's kind of an athlete. He strikes me as that gadget type of guy, and he's got the frame of that. And Florida State, I think, has done some favors to Florida having a coaching change at wide receiver, because he's had to like basically hit reset with Tim Harris Jr. over there at FSU. And it was his last visit in like March or April, something like that. He was at Florida. He comes out of that visit, and Florida State and Florida are like basically tied or neck and neck or something like that. He said, that's probably not the answer you want to hear or see if you're Florida State and you've had this guy committed for a year. I do think it is starting to trend Florida's way. Obviously still committed to FSU. Mike Norvell has a really good connection with him, so I think that's sort of the saving grace there. But I feel like if we're looking at trajectories, Florida seems to be going up and FSU seems to be going down. Where things go with official visits, I guess that could change things, but it does seem like this one is starting to trend towards Florida.
What about, and I'm probably going to butcher this one for sure, Keke Pepe, Southern Cal commit, is tell me how to pronounce it, first of all.
Keke Pepe, you're right.
Look at this. Fabulous. This class is helping out. It's somebody that Florida is, still in talks with, would like to get back to Gainesville and see what is there. Do you think Florida has a shot there?
No, but I didn't feel like they did before. Like, guy from LA, it seemed like at USC, and if not them, it was going to be Miami. Florida did finish third. He did say that when Corey Bender and I were at IMG earlier this week, last week. And official visits planned right now. He had a bunch set. Florida was one of them. Those are off. He's only planning to visit USC right now. But this is a guy. So I feel like there's different parts to him that I'm watching, and it's kind of just scenarios where there's like no facts. I'm just watching. Like, USC has been known to build up this momentum in the offseason, and then the bottom falls out in season. That doesn't mean that they're going to do that this season, but it's, history shows that it's something to watch. So you've got a guy that is a premier offensive tackle that if USC slips, somebody's going to try to jump in there and try to sway it their way. You've got a big-time offensive tackle, so NIL is going to be thrown at him. Playing time is going to be thrown at him. So it's kind of wait and see. That's one to where like I'd put on the back burner as far as like watching where things go. I do think that if there was going to be a pivot school, if he was having a change of heart, he was looking around, I think Miami seems to be having they have the inside track, I would say. But Florida has clearly still recruited him, still reached out, congratulated him, told him they respect his decision. Just know we're always going to be there. Like we're there. If you want to hear from us, we're certainly going to continue to keep our eye on you. But he does seem happy with his USC commitment. That is just a recently made decision. And there's plenty of time to take visits. But right now he's saying no. But I feel like there's just things I'm watching. Is USC going to slip? Because if they do, this is a premier offensive tackle, and it's like sharks with blood in the water. Like everyone's jumping at it. So I'm curious to see how things play out here.
What about CJ Bronn?
I think Florida's upward with him. He's been committed in Nebraska since I think it was last November. They've had some coaching change there. Some of those guys are over at FSU now, so I think that that's beneficial in some ways because there are some ties there that kind of carry over. I have a hard time seeing this guy. Like, he's a guy from right there in I think it was Winter Garden, Orlando, Central Florida area. He's got Florida and he's got Florida State pressing really hard for him. I just have a hard time seeing Nebraska be able to hold on with these in-state schools pressing and just building the connections he has. You can be close to family, you can play here, you can do this, you can do that. With Florida, you can play in the SEC. So I think that Florida's if right now, if we're making a flip call right now, I think if he did, I think it's Florida. But I do think that official visits, I've been told that he and his family kind of view things as professional all around. They want to take all their official visits. They want to hear everything, kind of make an informed decision here. So I do think that maybe things can shake some different like
Mhm.
factors out here from, but I think this one seems to be trending to Florida. But if I'm watching for two places for him to, if he's flipping from Nebraska, I think it'd be Florida or Florida State.
All right, quickly, guys, I just wanted to shout out Alumni Hall and thank them for all the support on the channel. We're already in May and football season is just around the corner. So make sure that you are shopping with Alumni Hall either on Archer Road or online at alumnihall.com. They have the very best selection of game day gear. If you're shopping for graduation, for your mom, for really anything UF related at all, make sure that you are hitting up Alumni Hall. Is there anybody else on your radar that we haven't mentioned that maybe Gator fans should keep an eye on?
Are we talking as far as flips or
Flips,
just in
yes,
general?
as far as flips. But you can mention as in general too, if
Let's
you
see.
mention it all.
I always do this. I think Hezekiah Harris, as far as a flip guy, is one to watch. He visited, I think first visit was in January. He's committed to Auburn. He's committed there for a while. It's a guy that is from the state of Alabama, so I don't think it's going to be an easy flip. But Florida
Mhm.
really likes him, and I've heard that he really likes Florida. So that's one where I'm kind of like wait and see, because it is really hard to flip someone. I think an in-state guy that Florida's still kicking the tires on up in the Jacksonville area is Brody Jennings up at Jacksonville Mandarin.
Mhm.
And that's another guy that Deron Wilson is in touch like every day. Billy Napier has a good connection with them. And then you've got recent signees or excuse me, enrollees now. They're freshman enrollees. You've got Hilton Stubbs and you've got Tramel Jones. Those guys are from Mandarin. Florida wants to get kind of that Mandarin pipeline going. They're in his ear. Florida's coaching staff's in his ear. He's been committed to Michigan since last summer. So I think that, and he said that if there's a number two, it's Florida. So I'm kind of watching that there because Jacksonville guy committed to Michigan. You're like, okay, like the in-state schools. And maybe another one, Javion Cooper. He's an offensive tackle, wanting Florida, with Florida wanting 5 offensive linemen this cycle. Got to keep a deep board. He's been committed to Syracuse since December. Florida's been number 2 for him for a while. He's visited a couple times. He'll take an official visit. I think that it's probably safe to say that there may be some where is he at on the board with green light, and if where things are at. I don't really quite know the answer to that question, but I do know that if he does have the green light and everything's checked out, like it seems like Florida's still really in this for him as far as in-state schools. So that's probably another one I'd say to watch as far as flip guys.
There, obviously committed to all different places, but I think the tie from all of those places is that all of them are kind of in a wait and see for the upcoming season, right? Will Florida have turned things around? Can Nebraska get stuff going? Georgia Tech, Southern Cal, all schools that kind of have something to prove on the field. And, maybe recruits put Florida in that same boat as well. Do you think how these seasons shake out plays a role in this at all? Or is it just really going to be NIL at the end of the day?
I think if there's an end all be all, it's usually NIL. But I do think that trajectory, like some
Mhm.
kids, like they want to win. Like
Yeah.
there are some kids that are like, I just want to
And that's
come for
taking kids
NIL
from
and I
first.
want the best offer, and that's where I'm going. And I don't really
Mhm.
care because I'm going to the league no matter what because I'm really good. Like there's some kids that probably have that idea, but there
Sure.
are some kids that view trajectory. They view where the program's going along with NIL as well. So I do think that that's a factor. I mean, we've seen teams that maybe have some buzz or some hype in the offseason. They come out and they lay eggs in the season. They have a bunch of guys decommit and flip to other schools because school A, where you're committed to, yeah, they may be giving you a really hefty NIL and they may not have won, but school B is also, they're winning and they've got money too. It's not like they're broke. So every school's have got money. It just kind of depends on, I guess, how much you do have reserved and how much you're willing to spend on a kid. Because if there's a price that you don't want to go above, or there's factors. But I do think that season does matter. Maybe not in the summer because I do feel like a lot of kids that maybe aren't quite ready to make a decision do it anyways because they want to get it out of the way. Whether it's
Sure.
I don't want to deal with this in season. I hate having 13,000 coaches text my phone and call my phone. Like I'm going to go ahead and lock in my spot while keeping the door open. There's different factors. So I do think that every kid is always evaluating a school in some point. Like Tennessee last year with Lagonza Hayward. Tennessee had a good season. They were a playoff team, but he was from Pahokee, Florida. Really liked Florida in the summer, but that was the guy that was like, man, I don't know about these guys if they're going to be there. And then Florida catches fire. Tennessee had a good season, and he flipped to Florida. So it's not the end all be all, but there are different factors in there. But I do think that showing the trajectory at least, maybe not wins and losses. If you don't have 10 wins, I'm not flipping to your school. It's about trajectory, and I think that that's probably maybe the bigger thing that people watch. But NIL is 9 times out of 10. If there's a reason why recruitment was flipped on its head, that's probably why.
All right, Blake, we appreciate you. Tell everybody where they can read your work and where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, Gators Online. It's Florida Gators on 3 site. I'm there with Zach Albaverdi, Corey Bender, Keith Niebuhr. We run a great site. It's 4 guys that just write a lot about the Gators, have ties to the Gators. So it's been fun. Come check us out. The message board has been building over the last several months. So it's a fun place to be, and it certainly will be ahead of these official visits. We've got like 4 or 5 weekends coming up. So that's where you can find my work. And then on Twitter, I'm at Blake_Alderman.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. We'll have to have you on midsummer so we can see if some of these official visits were as fruitful as Gator fans are going to be hoping they are.
We can test my theory about that late summer nucleus class, and I'll either look like a genius or I'll look like a big dummy. So I'm all for it.
I'm rooting for genius.
Me too.
Well, I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.